Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube, and I kind of wanted to cover this story right here about Obama renaming Mount McKinley to Denali, or the Great One. Symbolically speaking, there's tons of things that happen around Obama that are very interesting and definitely make you think. If you haven't heard, there's a large portion of people all around the globe that think Obama could very well be the Antichrist, or at this point be un-Antichrist. And if you look at his policies and the things he says and how many times he's actually blasphemed God and the Bible and left Jesus Christ out of things, it becomes really clear that certainly he is an anti-Christ. He is against Christ, seems to be against Christians. And you can do an internet search and you'll find tons of very interesting supernatural, paranormal type synchronicities around Obama. Just strange things that seem to happen around him that point to demonic symbolism or even devilish ideas. This is a picture right here that got really popular online, went viral, but this is during one of his speeches, and you can see how they lined him up almost perfectly with these horns. And if that was the only time they'd done something like that, it wouldn't really be a big deal, but most of us know that look into this kind of thing, that this stuff happens constantly with Obama. For instance, you can just go to any kind of an image search engine. I'm using Google right here, but just type in Obama halo, for instance. You can do that, and you scroll down, and you're going to find tons and tons and tons of examples. It's important that I show you these images. It's important that you understand this because this all goes back to a lot of my work and a lot of things I show on my channel, which is the nature of symbolism, the language of symbolism. In these days and times we're in now, it's exploding. We're seeing it all over the place. I'm not the only one that sees this stuff. There's a lot of you out there that research these things, and we're finding really interesting coded messages a lot of the time. We're finding intention underneath the surface of a lot of these symbols, a lot of movies, TV shows, pictures, commercials, you name it. And no, we're not crazy. This is a part of an awakening that's taking place. We're seeing this stuff now. So we need to understand these things before I show you what I want to show you here, and I thought was very interesting. So again, we have Obama renaming Mount McKinley the Great One. When we see these strange stories come out in the media that seem really random, it's good to do a little bit of research. I've only seen a few other people kind of covering this. I've seen some interesting ideas on what Denali means from some of you out there and things like this, but I want to go kind of a different route, and I want to explore President McKinley. So oftentimes we'll use the term Illuminati. I also like to call it the beast system, but it's revealing itself. These people are witches. This is sorcery a lot of the time. This is why oftentimes we have to dig a little bit deeper and look for what meaning may be there that they didn't show us in the mainstream media behind a lot of these stories. In this case in particular, again, Obama renaming this mountain, taking away McKinley, and renaming it Denali, or the Great One. What you may not have known about President McKinley is he was actually assassinated in 1901, and what's most interesting is he was assassinated in the month of September. So here we have Obama renaming this mountain no longer McKinley, but now he's calling it the Great One. And President McKinley, of course, was assassinated in September. Here we are on September 1st. We know there's a lot of really interesting things lining up for September. So I have to wonder, is this some kind of a coded message that Obama's leaving for us? Is this something that they plan out and they put out there for us, for people like us to try to figure out? Or is this something that just comes through in the spiritual? Is this kind of a way where they have to kind of show what they're going to do before they do it? So of course in this case, this is one of my videos where we're more speculating on something. We're considering these possibilities. Oftentimes I can lay out to you an argument for any kind of a case I may be trying to make. This isn't exactly one of those videos because we don't know for sure. But understanding the nature of the occultists that are really in charge of this beast system, it wouldn't surprise me that they would do something like this. And it really makes me wonder, because that story came from out of nowhere that Obama changes the name of the mountain, right? And why is that? Anytime we see things like that, at least me personally, I always like to start exploring it and trying to see what I can find. So I think that's really interesting. Are we being set up for a second coming? Will Obama be that head of the beast that's mentioned in Revelation that will suffer a mortal wound or a mortal head wound? And it'll be resurrected after a few days, and then perhaps that will be the Antichrist. Perhaps he will be assassinated, or there'll be an attempt made. He'll suffer some kind of a wound, come back in a few days, and then the world will literally be at his feet. This would be an example of the Great One, quote unquote, returning. Do you see? I want to show you something else about McKinley, though. It's just something else I kind of stumbled across with McKinley. I wanted to share with you. Oftentimes on my channel, and other people out there will talk about how the presidents are Freemasons and it's all kind of an exclusive society. Teddy Roosevelt told us that presidents in America aren't elected but selected, so that's a part of that process as well. Most of them are coming through the lodge, right? So, of course, we shouldn't be surprised that we find William McKinley himself was a Freemason. Something else I thought was really interesting, kind of at the bottom of the page there, you're going to see that final sentence. William McKinley, our 25th president, was born in Niles, Ohio. I personally thought that was interesting, just with a potential connection back to Obama. We have the Nile. You may remember this story from not long ago, but the American Pharaoh horse actually won the Triple Crown victory. And of course there was the monster symbolism there, and we know the Monster energy drink, those slashes are actually Va, that's a Hebrew letter, so it's actually a 6, so it's a 666. And again, a lot of people consider Obama America's Pharaoh, and if you look back on the history of the pharaohs, Pharaoh thought he was God on earth, wanted to control the world. Babies born alive had to die, expected royal treatment. Subjects were expendable. He was a socialistic dictator, anti-Semitic speeches, and a staff of magicians and thugs. And this is where a lot of people can't pick up on this kind of a thing, but then just as many can nowadays. Our world really does work through symbols, through signs, synchronicities. It doesn't take a whole lot of digging most of the time to kind of see these connections and where they are. So it's very interesting to me once again. So that's the question then, isn't it? Is this some kind of a coded message? I guess we're going to find out soon. This is September 1st. There's only so many weeks left. Will he suffer some kind of a mortal wound and then be resurrected? Will he come back as the, quote, Great One? I think it's interesting, and there's definitely enough there to watch for. Once again, I'm not saying this is exactly the case, but when dealing with the occult, which means hidden, and this is what these people do, they work in shadows. Oftentimes it takes us just putting a few of the pieces together and really watching and waiting to see what happens. And while we're on the subject of presidents, before I go, I just wanted to show you one more thing. As we've covered, presidents are not selected, they are elected in America. A lot of people think Donald Trump is going to save America. And I personally, for a few years, have been very skeptical about any other presidents past Obama. Now again, I'm not telling you that that is exactly the case, but even back in videos I was making in 2012, I had this idea, this feeling that Obama is America's last president. And I put it in those videos. I've been saying it for years now. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are actually related. If you look there at the bottom, you'll see that they're 19th cousins. So again, you find these connections. All these people are connected. It's a lie in America, or really any other place, that you can be a good little boy or girl, take your vitamins, go to church every Sunday, say your prayers, be a good upstanding citizen, and then someday you too can be the president. It's a total lie. This is from that article on Trump and Clinton. It says their 19th great-grandfather is King Edward III, John's father, so there is a precedent for ruling a country. It's in their genes. Here's a story that made mainstream news several years ago. Is ruling in the genes. All presidents, bar one, are directly descended from a medieval English king. You've heard that this whole world is a stage. Well, it is. All these people are connected. As for what's going to happen to Barack Obama in September, we only have a few weeks to wait. And I certainly don't wish anything like that on anybody. But when trying to decode the occult, when trying to follow the signs and symbols, when trying to connect the dots, all we can do is kind of wait and watch. It will be interesting to find out what this means. Perhaps the whole renaming of the mountain was just some form of a ritual, and maybe nothing will really come out of this. But still, the connections are there. And once again, these are more examples how this world truly is a stage and all these people are connected. Break free from this beast system. And don't put all your hope and faith in Trump or any other man or woman out there for this matter. Well, thanks for checking out the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.